stuff. Yeah, so as I was saying, this morning is part of a free series of how A2X can help you, how you can use A2X. So this part is using sales insights and how you can grow your business. And what we will be covering is, sorry, bear with me. Are any of you using A2X currently? If you just type in the chat section here. Using bold. Okay, good stuff. So we can get some people converted over to A2X maybe. Yeah, it's very useful and it does save a lot of time. I've not used bold, but I think A2X should be a bit better. Good stuff. So so this is me. So I'll just introduce myself first. So I've been working with BNinjas for just over 5 years. So I'm an ACCA Chartered Certified Accountant here in the UK with 10 years accounting experience. And what I've specialized in over the last 5 or 6 years is integration of Xero with different software such as A2X, and also setting up. So for example, a client comes in, we set them up with a tech stack and get them on their way. So that's what I've specialized in there. And my values here, people first, and I like BNinjas Europe to be an environmentally friendly business. We plant trees with 1 tree planted each month. And we're always evolving, so we always do take part in training and upgrading with new softwares as we go. So a little bit more about me. I love traveling and I love animals, so that's just my introduction there. So today what we're going to cover, it's going to be 20 to 25 minutes, and what we're going to cover first is why is the sales detail important, and then once I've covered that, we're just going to go through how you connect Xero and A2X. And then we're going to look at more into detail about how you group the sales by product type within A2X and also by location. So you can see the 2 separate ways of doing it. And there's also going to be a brief bit about sales VAT and how to manage that through A2X as well. I'm not sure if you've got any international sellers here or everyone is just selling domestically. But there's different ways of handling that depending on where your sales are. And then at the end, we'll have a question and answer session. So I know as we go along, there might be a few questions that pop up, but if you just save them for the end, and then we can answer them all there, just make sure everything runs freely. And we've already got some pre-submitted questions as well, which I'll go through. Perfect. So first of all, why is sales detail important? So you're making the sales, so who cares about the detail basically? If you're flying high, your profit's there, you might not be too bothered about breaking it down. So the reasoning behind breaking sales down into product groups is you can see which products to push. So some products might be more profitable than others, and obviously you want to make sure the profitable products are the ones you're spending your money on, you're advertising, and you're making sure you never run out of those in inventory. So that's that basically first part there, to invest more in advertising. You can also help with the pricing of the product. So, you can increase, if it's not, if it's only making a marginal profit, you can increase the price of that product. Or if it is just marginal, maybe you can discontinue the product. And you might even find out that you're actually losing money on particular products once you add up all the separate costs associated with selling that product as well. So sales insights can give you a lot of detail around the pricing. Especially maybe straight after Christmas, if you're an e-commerce seller, you might have scarce resources. So it's just where to allocate those, where to buy inventory, which ones to replace quicker. So you want to be knowing where you're going to be placing your funds. And again, there'll be seasonal fluctuations per product or groups of product. And this splitting them out in Xero will help you to see those seasonal variations, because all of your products might have separate seasonal fluctuations. If you're selling clothes especially, you might sell more boots in winter and more jackets, whereas t-shirts in the summer. So it can kind of help you to get a bit of an idea on what months of year to push your products, when to stock up inventory, and those kind of things, those insights that you can get there. So what you need to do is if you're doing by country, which is product market. So Amazon will actually split sales out. You have a different marketplace for North America. There's a European one. There's an Asian one. So what identifying the markets you operate in has other considerations as well as the product groups. So especially if you're selling into Europe, you might have VAT returns, and then it's the extra admin burden and paying an accountant to do those returns. You've got freight and customs forms that you might have to fill in for each country that you're selling into. And if your operations is big enough in other countries, then you have the cost of an office then, salary, and any other compliance costs, trademarks, licenses, anything like that to do with that country. And within A2X, that obviously allows you to split out the sales, but within Xero, you can start associating the costs against those sales to give you an overall profit per country. So great insights are given there. So what we'll do is we'll first start with how to connect Amazon, Shopify, and Xero. So basically, this first screen is the same whether you're using Amazon or Shopify. Here you log into, you basically create your A2X account, which is fairly easy. It's just entering an email address and it will lead you to this screen here. Obviously, first you can name your account, and it's just as simple basically as just clicking on this continue with Amazon button. And what that would do is that will ask you to enter your Amazon login details, and then just click a button just to say yes, it can converse with Xero, with A2X, sorry. And then once you set up your Amazon or Shopify on this side, you just need to connect to Xero. And again, it's just a matter of clicking that button and entering your Xero login details. So this very first stage is very straightforward and shouldn't be a problem. So this A2X account, when I refer to it as well, it is going to be based on Amazon, but Shopify A2X accounts run the same as well. So what you want to do is we're grouping sales. So first of all, you need to choose how you're going to group your sales. So what grouping does, as I mentioned before, is you can target different sales accounts in Xero. So you can split these out, and you can do this basically any way that you think is going to give you insights into your products and to help you out with kind of your strategic direction. So these are just a few of the options you can group by. So you've got separate products, like as I mentioned before, boots and coats. Maybe you want to track them separately. You've got your sizes, your children's versus adults, because you market them very differently. And if you've only got a couple of SKUs, I wouldn't recommend this if you've got more than, let's say, 5 or 6 SKUs, because you will have just a really long profit and loss. So you can split it out per product if you only have a couple of SKUs. But again, don't do it if you have more than 5 or 6. So here is A2X. And basically what it is this is how you add a new product type. And all you do here is go to this, there's basically a product type section. It's very easy to do. You just give it a name. So for example, if you are splitting coats and boots, you've got product type 1, you can just give it a title, coats, for example. And then what you have there is your SKUs. So these are the SKUs that are in Amazon or Shopify. And you just need to make sure you copy those across exactly, because what it'll do is that it'll actually look for those SKUs in each payout from Amazon in the Amazon detail report. So yeah, these SKUs that you enter need to match exactly, and just separate them by a comma. And you can put in as many as you want in there. So if you've got 20 coats, you can put all those SKUs into there separated by commas. And basically when Amazon does a payout, A2X will look through that payout detail report to find any of those SKUs, and it'll group them together. And you can add as many different product types as you want. So you can add a couple of those into there. So your boots, your coats, and then everything else, anything you don't put into a product type will just fall into a general box. So you don't need to group everything if you don't want to. Here we are. So also what we want to do is group by country. Do many people here sell internationally, or is everyone just domestic sales? Just anyone answers in the chat box there. Perfect. Yes, internationally, Diane. Domestic. Perfect. Okay, great stuff. So I'll run through this bit as well, just obviously in case you want to expand in the future as well. So this is probably just Diana at the moment. But you can group by sales, and this is actually very easy to do. So all you have in the settings section is you have this sales grouping. And you can see here we've got this group sales by country. And you just basically tick this box. And then what this will do is it will, the sales detail report from Amazon, it'll pick up where the customers are based. Same from Shopify as well. And you can target different sections. So if you're in Europe, it's probably quite hard to separate per country. What I normally see with a lot of clients is people grouped by EU and non-EU sales, so that they know when to apply VAT and not to apply VAT. People from USA, if you're splitting by country, normally your Amazon North America is just Amazon, Mexico, Canada, USA, so it's a lot easier. You've only got 3 countries in there to split by. So again, if you're in Europe, you don't want to set up all 27 countries separately. So yeah, it's just easier just to do Europe and non-Europe for sale VAT. Perfect. So there's a couple of ways you can display this in Xero, and I'll go through both of them. Are people set up in Xero already? I know only a couple of you, no one's using A2X at the moment, but is anyone set up in Xero? Yep, Sarah's in Xero. Perfect. Good stuff. So we've got a few people in Xero. So you may know some of this section. It's just good to go through it to show how you can integrate it into A2X. So once you set up your groups in A2X, there's basically 2 ways you can allocate the sales into Xero. So you can use the profit and loss accounts, or you can use tracking categories. So both of these have their bonuses and drawbacks. So I'll go through both of these separately now as well. So if you're going to allocate using profit and loss, this is great if you just have a low number of groups, as I mentioned before, maybe up to 5 different product groups that you want to track. And it's good if you just want to split income and direct costs, because what I've seen people do is they in their kind of they have like a revenue section, and they have the revenue and the direct costs under one grouping on the profit and loss. And then if you want to add anything else, it gets a bit difficult. So that's why I'm just saying just income and direct costs. Again, you don't want a profit and loss that's so long that makes it unusable to read. And to do this, all you need to do is just create a revenue account in Xero for each group. So going back to our boots and coats, you'll just have to give them names that you recognize. So like these 2 here, sales boots, sales coats. And then in Xero, in A2X, you can actually target your product groups against these. It's very easy from the accounts and taxes page. You'll basically have a drop down against the groupings in A2X, and you just choose the particular revenue account you want that posting to. And again, you can do it per country this way as well. So that's the bonuses of doing it that way. If you just have, so for example, a few clients here based in UK may just sell to Germany, UK, and France. So this might be a good way to do it for the profit and loss. So using tracking categories. So this is maybe for the larger companies where it's a bit more complex and you want to track a few more items. So this is good because you can allocate the overheads, the office costs, any salaries and advertising as well. None of that is done through A2X. That will be done obviously within your Xero file when those costs pop up. But what it does let you do is get a separate income statement for each country group or each product group. And it gives you an overall product of operating in that particular area, which is great because sometimes you might look at some sales to another country and you think you're making a great amount of sales, but when you add in all the additional costs, it's actually not worth investing in that country, especially with language barriers where you have to get everything translated, and VAT returns, you have to hire specialists in those countries as well to do those. And it's also great if you have a larger number of groups. So you can have 2 tracking categories in Xero, and I think it's up to 200 different options within that tracking category. So that's if you're looking to get really granular on your numbers, you can use tracking categories. So all you need to do first is, 100, thanks Sarah. So what you need to do first is set up those tracking categories within Xero, and then in A2X you will have like a third option to pick from on the accounts and taxes screen within A2X, and that'll be the tracking category. So you can pick, you can even use both in tandem if you want. You can use tracking categories and the profit and loss accounts. So you'll have like let's say sales from UK in the first box, then you'll be able to pick the account code it's going to go to. So like that could be sales codes, for example, and then you'll have the tax code, and then you could choose UK in the third box if it's a UK sales. So you can combine tracking categories and revenue accounts as well to give you even more of a dynamic breakdown. Perfect. And this is how you do it within Xero. So within A2X, it's very simple. All you need to do is in the settings, you've got this advanced tracking code, and you just click updates, invoice settings. And this is just what I was mentioning before here. That provides you that third column with the options to choose from. So we're getting to the fun part now, which is VAT. And I know this is probably a big worry for a lot of e-commerce sellers because it's inevitably a lot more complicated when you start selling across borders as well. And people, this is one of the major worries that people have. So I'm going to cover basically the UK and European situation. I know USA is a lot more complicated than domestic tax, but you have items like Avalar that can help you as well. So within Xero, UK VAT is a control account, so it's calculated automatically, and you shouldn't really post directly to it in terms of, just because what will happen in A2X is you'll actually get a tax account, and you don't just want to allocate that directly to VAT because it won't actually count it within the return. We need it to go through the control. So in A2X, you'll have your VAT rates to choose from, and you can assign these for each revenue, each expense that comes through. So as I mentioned, what happens with UK sales any sales is you'll get a drop down for sales, and then the sales tax that Amazon or Shopify has took away from it. So what you actually want to do with that is sales, you obviously want to choose your relevant sales account. So if it's a sale of a coat, it can go to the sales coats account. But what you need to do is set the tax at 20%. And then for the tax option in A2X is you actually put that to the sales account, and then you choose 20% VAT on that as well. Because what that does then is that kind of grosses up the sale as it goes into Xero. And then when it creates that invoice within Xero for that sale, it takes off the 20% through the VAT control account for you. And that way it'll appear on your VAT return correctly. So this may be useful for some people if they're registered in other other EU countries, or if you're planning on it. So what you'd need to do with these ones is you don't want these to go to control account because it's going to mix in with your UK VAT, and you may end up paying double tax. You might include that in your UK VAT returns, but you might also calculate it if you're doing your VAT return to Germany, for example. So what you want to do is create a separate tax liability account in Xero. Just make sure you've got a name that you can identify it, like VAT Germany, for example. And what you want to do is set the tax on that on the sales for that particular country in A2X is no VAT. So if you get a sale to Germany within A2X, your box that you'll pick is going to go to that VAT account for VAT and sales. And then, just the sales are going to go to that particular country, and then you want to target the tax directly to the liability account that you created. So it will sit separately then from your main VAT. And then once you're confident A2X is set up correctly, so the way A2X works is it will create an option for you to post things, but it'll only create that option once it's seen it. So for example, if you are selling in 4 countries and one Amazon payout, it only has 3 countries in there. That first time you'll only be able to pick those options for it to post those 3 country details. And next time when that 4th country comes in, you'll be able to pick the options to set that up. So that's why I always say don't set it up straight away to auto invoicing, which is where basically as soon as a payout comes from Amazon and hits A2X, it automatically pushes it to Xero. So I'll always let it do a couple of payouts first to make sure you've set up everything and chosen the right accounts and tax rates. And then once you're happy everything is set up correctly, then you can turn on the auto invoicing, and this will just push everything across automatically for you. So it's a good time saver, but just don't be too hasty in turning on auto invoicing. Let it make sure everything's set up first for you. Good stuff. So just a quick recap on the lesson section. Coming to the end of it now. So first of all, just make sure you identify your markets and your product segments. Create those accounts or tracking categories within Xero. Split the sales figures out on your profit and loss using A2X by targeting those newly created accounts. And then what you want to do is obviously there needs to be an end goal for splitting everything out. Is you want to evaluate your figures, identify any trends that are happening, and basically you can devise a strategy then on timings and on investments into the correct products, and any pricing decisions can be made as well. Perfect. So just a quick case study as well, just to finish off with. So yeah, here we are. So we had a client in who was struggling to grow the business. And basically what we did is we integrated Amazon to Xero using A2X. And they had a high value product. And most people, when they sell high value products, they think they're making a good money off it. It's great to have those. But it's actually making a very low margin in the end. And it was also slow moving, so it tied up a lot of the cash. So he didn't have money to kind of invest in other items. So after kind of splitting this out and after a couple of months of reviewing the profit and loss figures, he actually discontinued the product and reinvested that cash into more of the fast moving and the higher profit products. And just by removing that one product, he actually had a good increase in his overall profit for the year to date. So yeah, it definitely is worth giving you that insight into your sales and showing you how you can make your plan for the next year going forwards. Perfect. Yeah. So just if you can just add anything to the chat box, what your most valuable takeaway was for today, and then we can move on to the question and answer section. Good stuff. So this is a free giveaway as well. What we do is people who attend this webinar, you get a 30-minute e-commerce road mapping consultation. So I can answer questions now, but obviously there's people probably have maybe more detailed questions that won't be answered along with other questions within 15 minutes. So we can book in like a free 30-minute e-commerce road mapping consultation, and what that does is basically that will enable you to answer any questions, and then we can put in a plan of what you need to do to build A2X link with Amazon and Xero, and get you going, basically give you those pointers on how to set it all up and get everything targeted correctly. Yeah, so just use this link. I will pop it in the chat as well. So you can just click on that one and book it in. So there it is. Perfect. Okay, so sorry, just trying to. So question time. So what I'll do is I will go through some of the questions that have been pre-submitted, and then I will open up the floor to any new questions that are coming in. So feel free to write it in the, if you have any questions now, just to write them in the chat box, and I can go over those as once we've done these ones. So someone posed the question of how to reconcile sales in Xero, which is a really good one. So what will happen, as mentioned before, is A2X will create a sales invoice within Xero. And there are, for example, if you're using Shopify, there are a couple of payment gateways that Shopify uses, and they all reconcile in slightly different ways. So if you use Shopify Pay, and it's the same for Amazon, what it will do is A2X will push an invoice through to Xero, and that will match the payout amount exactly. It might, for example, because Amazon pays out every 2 weeks. So if you get a payout on the 7th of the month, for example, what will happen is you will get the first, let's say, week for the prior month. It'll be posted at the end date of that prior month, and then the other 7 days will be posted within the month that the payout is in. And that's really good, because obviously it lets you, it allocates like the income into the correct month. And then all you need to do then is match your income, the cash receipt in the bank, to those 2 invoices. Or if it doesn't straddle a month, you can just match it to the one invoice. In terms of if you use other payout gateways, such as PayPal, what will happen is it will create a invoice within Xero, but it'll automatically pay this to a clearing account. So what I do is I create a separate clearing account for each payment processor. So you might have PayPal, you might have Stripe attached. So I'll have like a PayPal clearing account and a Stripe clearing account, and then A2X will automatically pay that invoice to the relevant clearing account that you set up. And then when you do get that money in from PayPal or from Stripe, all you need to do is post that against that clearing account, and that will net it out to Xero. And that, it's easy to kind of reconcile that at the end of each month as well, because you can just kind of go through and match one off against the other. So it should be about the same dates. Refunds, someone asked about refunds as well. So those are processed exactly the same way. If you have refunds, you can target those to a refund account within Xero, so you can see those come in separately. But they also just come through on an invoice. So normally you'd still obviously have a positive invoice, you'd still receive cash because of your other sales. But if it's just one refund for the week, for example, it will create a bill within Xero, and again, it's just a matter of just matching the money paid against that bill. So it works in exactly the same way. I believe someone asked about Xero pricing. This depends on your country, basically. But if you're an international seller, you want the premium account because you want the different currencies. If you're just domestic seller, then just a standard one. And I know in the UK that's £24 without VAT. And I think one final question that was submitted is sales history. So when you set up your A2X account, it will just bring in like the last month. But if you're trying to catch up your whole year, if you've left that behind and you haven't worked on it, you can request more history as well. You do need the premium A2X account to do this, but you can obviously upgrade and then downgrade later on. And what you may need to do as well is for Amazon, you may need to log in and unarchive your reports as well. For Shopify history, it normally comes in quite easily, but the A2X team is actually really great. So if it's not bringing it in for any reason, they normally reply within a couple of hours. You can just email them and ask them to bring in that history for you. Perfect. So I would check on the chat if there's any other questions. No, so I will open it up. If anyone else has any other questions that they want to ask now, you feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Hey, Tom, it's Diana here.
Hi.
What you mentioned at the beginning that this is part 1 of a 3-part series. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So the other 2 parts, one is going to be doing the opposite of this. It's going to be the cost of sales. And the 3rd part is going to be inventory.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're going to run each month. Sorry?
How do we sign up for those?
Yeah. So I'll be putting them on. We'll be advertising the same as we did this one. But what I can do is we will send those out automatically to people who attended this one. We'll send out those invites to you. It'll be 1 a month. So that one will be, I'm not doing that one early January because of Christmas and New Year's, but I think that one's going to be in the second week of January for the cost of sales. And then the inventory will be in February, early February.
Cool. Amazing.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll fire you over the link. Thanks, Diana.
Yep.
Cool. Shopify point of sale, Dave. Most of the people I've worked with at eCommerce, so they're not using point of sale, but it does interact exactly the same with A2X, as long as because it comes to your Shopify store. The payouts will be created exactly the same to your bank account. Good stuff. Cool. Any other questions? Anyone want to add to the chat or unmute themselves? Perfect. Okay. Well, if everyone's happy with that, I will. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Sarah. So I will send out the link for the next series in the webinar, probably later in the month. And feel free, if you would like to book in that call as well, to book that in. I'll just post it again at the bottom just to make sure everyone's got it there. And then I look forward to speaking to you one-on-one or on our next webinar. Thanks. Take care, everyone.